Hi there, today I'm recapping the movie Mechanic Resurrection starring Jason Statham. He is in this movie as Arthur Bishop. He is a retired assassin, or he wants to be a retired assassin. We see that he is now living in Brazil, and it's been 5 months. He had apparently faked his death. However, he is at a restaurant. Seems like he frequents the restaurant, and while he was there having his beer, a lady comes up to him, and she is an intermediary for somebody who wants to hire him for an assignment to kill 3 guys. And so he was not interested. However, she says that, if he doesn't take the job, then the video showing, how he faked his death was going to be sent out. So basically, he was getting blackmailed into doing this assignment, which he didn't want to do. So while he was having this conversation with the lady who sat down, he noticed some guys in the restaurant. So he already knew something was about to kick off. And so when he decided that he wasn't going to take the job, then a fight breaks out, and she had a weapon under the table. So then, he was fighting with her. And then, of course, the guys started in. And so this was a big kerfuffle in the restaurant. The butt kicking started within the first minute of the movie. So we see where he was able to take off, and we see where he's at the top of a lift that goes from where he was to this really tall, rocky peak. It's a fixture on the coast of Rio de Janeiro. And so when they realized that he was on the top of the lift, the girl was on the lift, and she was shooting into the ceiling of the lift. And so when she eventually climbed up on there, she had a weapon. So he just jumped off, and he landed on a hang glider. And so he took off, and they were just there. So he was able to escape from that debacle. We see where he ends up in Malaysia. He has a friend there, Mai. And so when he was there not long after he arrived there, he wasn't even able to arrive there in peace. I think within a day or two, we see where Gina arrives. She's a lady that shows up to May's establishment, which is his friend. She has a business there, and she is housing him. And so she looks kind of roughed up. She has a split lip, and she has some bruises on her arm. So she was looking for like a first aid kit. And so she was telling her that if she needed more medical attention, where she needed to go, but she was saying that this was fine. So later on that day, May noticed that there was a boat that was docked not too far out from the shore, and she realized that it was the same girl who was on the boat, and they were having an argument. She noticed earlier that she must have been getting abused because of the bruises that she had, and so she was trying to get Bishop to do something about it. And he was like, look, it's a domestic dispute. I don't want to get involved. But she was like, well, you helped me out, and you need to help her. And he was eventually compelled to go help. And so when they went out there, more butt whooping. So he took out the guy, and then shortly after that, Gina fell out. I don't know what was going on, but she fell to the ground. It seemed like she passed out or something. And so he took her to the boat because May had come out on the boat as well, the little floatable boat in what are those called? Inflatable. Yeah, I think that's what those are called. And so he put her on that, and then he decided that he was going to dispose of the boat. So before he did that, he was inside, he was looking around, and he saw her phone, and there was a photo of her in it, a photo of him in it. And so he was like, okay, here we go. It's another person now with my photo in their phone. So he knew something was up. So anyway, he proceeded to get rid of the boat. He ended up blowing it up, but as soon as he came back to shore, he wanted to know where the girl was. So May had put the girl in his room. And so he was in there like, what's going on? What's going on with you and Crain? He was like, I'm not working with him. And he was like, well, you have my picture in your phone. And so he pulled his weapon out. And then when he pointed at her, then she quickly, started to, a little fight ensued, which didn't last very long. And I was wondering why she was so brave to try to fight a guy who has a gun in his pointed at her. But we find out that she was a former military operative in Afghanistan, and she had after she finished her tour, she was doing some humanitarian work. So later on, we got a little bit more detail into how she ended up being mixed up with this guy, Crain, because he's a bad guy. And basically, she was serving for him as a honeypot. Basically, she was supposed to reel in Bishop so that Crain would have something to hold over his head. She was doing something that she didn't want to do, but the guy was going to kill the students from her school if she didn't do what he asked. Why he picked her, I don't remember seeing a connection as to why he picked her of anybody else. But we know that she's an American who was living in Cambodia and teaching at that school. So anyway, he decided that, okay, after he looked her up, he found out the story, verified the story. He decided that he was going to help her to live, and he was going to kill Crain, who's the same guy who was sent the message to him when he was in Brazil, and now he's sending somebody else out here to give him a message, or, he's coming after him pretty much. And if he doesn't take this assignment, well, there'll be hell to pay. So, of course, he went ahead, and after a while, they got involved. So now, what do you know? This guy's going to have leverage over him now, because this is a woman that he's involved in. And, of course, if he doesn't do the assignment now she's going to be the leverage to get him to do the stuff that he wants. So we see they decided they're going to have a plan for her to escape, and he was going to go kill Crain. Now, before they could do that, we see where a bunch of police guys rushed the shore, and while they were walking along the beach, she was taken away and he was taken into custody. They had the gun pointed at him, and we see where one of the guys who were there was like, yeah, we have him here, Mr. Crain, blah, blah, blah. So he took the phone, and of course he had to go to him because now he had no way of escaping because there were guns pointed at him. So he had to go meet the guy. He knows this guy. They have a history together. And so this guy's out for revenge. He doesn't like him, but he feels like he's the best guy for the job that he wants to do. And so he's pretty much holding him hostage to get this assignment done. But he was like, okay, let the girl go. He wasn't willing to do that. But they did agree that after the second kill, he would get a video call to prove that she's still alive. And then after he completed the third kill, that he would give them a place, a time, location to find the girl. Of course, he didn't believe that. Of course, I didn't believe that that would happen either. But he was taking it for, a grain of salt with this agreement. So the first kill that he had to do was of a guy named Krill. He's a African warlord and arms dealer who's currently imprisoned in a facility in Malaysia, which was heavily guarded. This is really hard to get to. And so when Bishop was an assassin, when he was working as such, which he wasn't really anymore, his specialty was, murders that looked like an accident. So this is how the guy wants them to be completed. And so he was able to get that guy out the way. The next guy was some businessman. And the next assignment was in Sydney, I believe Sydney, right? In Australia. And so this guy was holed up at the top of a skyscraper. He had a penthouse up there. He's heavily armed. And so he needed to find a way to get up there to the guy to be able to get to him. So he was able to get a hold of the plans, and then he figured a way up there. He had to scale the building, and he got his assignment done. The guy ended up as mush on the sidewalk from God knows a gajillion floors from the ground, and he fell through. It was really cool, though, because this building, he had a swimming pool. Well, not cool for him. The swimming pool was a glass swimming pool that was, I guess, off the building. It was protruded out away from the building, so it was all glass. So that wasn't good for him. He was mushed by the time he got to the ground floor. So he did that, and then it was time, since he had completed the 2 kills now, to be able to get his video call. Of course, when he got the video, we know typical Jason Statham character is like a rebel, doesn't go by the rules. So even though they had agreed to this, call, he decides that he's going to go get the girl, Gina, because in the video that he received, he noticed a hall number, and he was able to find out who it belongs to, where it was when he went there, though the boat was not in the harbor anymore, so he was able to track it down, and he launched an attack to try to get the girl. Of course, this was unsuccessful, and so he ended up having to do the third assignment, which was to kill an American arms dealer who was currently in Bulgaria. So he decides, once he was looking at the history and doing his research, he realized that the guy, Crain, was wanting him to take out the competition. And he also wanted to get rid of Crain as well. So he decides, instead of killing these two guys, instead of following through with the plan and killing these two guys like he did before, he was going to team up with Max. That's the guy's name. The third guy was Max Adams. He's an American arms dealer. And so instead of killing him, he decided then that he was going to work with him and they were going to double cross Crain. And so they came up with a plan to be able to lure his security away from him in order for Jason to get to him. And so pretty much the guy financed that, just because instead of being killed, this was a way for them to work together to get rid of a common enemy. So after he reported in that he had killed this guy, Crain wanted to get evidence that he was dead. He wanted to see the body. He sent in his crew because the fortress that Max had some weapons that were underneath the building. There's water running under there, so he had submersible weapons. I think there were intercontinental missiles and a bunch of stuff. And it's with a lot of butt kicking, then this is the one. It's typical Jason Statham, where you're going to expect a lot of action and fight scenes and all that. So I enjoyed that. I was looking for something that had a lot of action for my Sunday afternoon. So let me know if you've checked this one out. Let me know your thoughts.